Hello, I'm Kelly Beaulieu, and I chose to present how I would adapt the play Antigone to a modern context. Before I begin, I must say that I would try to make it as similar as possible, but I also want people to identify themselves to the story and make it fit to a modern context. So, firstly, in my adaptation, Creon would be shown as the president of a democratic country, but he would slowly turn it into a dictatorship. He would be a little bit like Hitler. With this idea, we would keep the element of Creon being a cruel, dangerous, and selfish ruler. Like in the play, he could take all the power, do what he wants, and scare people so they obey him. Secondly, for Antigone's two brothers, it would be pretty much the same thing as in the play. Polynices and Eteocles would have been in the army, and then they would have fought each other in the war. Eteocles would have a state funeral because he was a hero in the war, and Polynices, on the other hand, would still be considered as a traitor to the country, and therefore it would be still forbidden to bury or to mourn him. Creon, as a dictator, could expose his body in the center of a major city for everyone to see. People would be more afraid of their president and would be less inclined to betray him, as in the play. Thirdly, I would make some modification to the text since they have an old way of speaking from the time of ancient Greece. Yes, we would lose part of the essence of the original play, but we can make a modern adaptation with characters talking in an ancient manner. It would sound very odd if I left the text totally unchanged. Fourthly, in the original play, Zeus and other Greek gods are mentioned. I think it would be very weird not to change that, since it was the beliefs of another time and no one really believes in Greek mythology anymore. To keep the religious part of the play, I would put Christianity in my adaptation. So instead of Antigone talking about Zeus or other gods, she would talk about God. He would be the only one. Also, since religion is less present nowadays, Antigone would refer less to God and more to what she believes is right. In the play, the girl often insists on the fact that gods would have wanted Polynices to have a proper burial and all, but in my adaptation, it would be more about the fact that he was her brother, that according to her, he is worthy of honoring, and that it is inhuman to not to bury someone. She'd think that he deserves to be buried and mourned as any other human would be. Fifthly, in the play, Creon arrests Antigone and asks her questions like if she was aware that it was forbidden to bury Polynices, or why she did it anyway. At that moment, the young girl stands up to Creon and even insults him. For that part, I would, in my adaptation, make it a trial. Antigone would get arrested, and then she would face a judge, Creon, and lawyers. However, like in the play, she would disrespect Creon in front of the audience. Since he is a dictator, he would not care about what the judge or lawyers tell him, and he would only decide Antigone's fate himself and sentence her to die, like in the play. Antigone would then be sent to jail and wait for her execution. Sixthly, in the play, Aemon and Antigone are promised to each other. I would have to change that since nowadays there are not any marriage arranged by parents, and in addition, Antigone would be too young to marry or to be engaged to someone. I would change it so that Aemon and Antigone would be in love but not promised or anything. That modification would not change much the story because Aemon would still defend his beloved against his father Creon. I just would have to change a little bit the text again where it is written that Antigone is his bride to be. Thus, despite the little modification I would make, the message of the play would still remain the same. There would still be the dilemma between blindly obeying the authorities' orders or doing what you think is right. Antigone would still have the choice to play it safe by following the stupid rules made by a dictator and not say anything, or to play it risky by standing up against the ruler and defending her religious beliefs and to what she thinks is best for her brother. The adaptation would tell people, what do you choose? To follow the rules because it is the law, or to be courageous and defy what seems to be wrong?